Welcome back to Coast Files. I am Chantel.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Megan.
Clearly, we're good at this. Okay, here's.
I was like, wait, alphabetical order. Oh, that's me.
I'm gonna start blacking out here and not remembering any of this. But okay, let's go. So our last two episodes were very close to home, but I am going to take us to far, far away from home. We're going to go to Dahab, Egypt, and talk about the Blue Hole. It's also known as Divers Cemetery. So,
awesome.
Yeah. In case you didn't get it from this ominous nickname, it's seen a lot of tragedy. So there's no actually official records kept of those who dive there. So I've seen anywhere from 130 to 200 possible deaths that have happened there, but like no one really knows because it's just a place that you can go and just like go. You don't have to like some of the blue holes that you go to, you have to get like day passes and like register and all that. You don't have to with this one. You just go.
So it's kind of like off the grid sort of.
Yeah, but like we'll get into it. But a little fun fact for you here. Only one woman is known to have died there. So just saying.
Wait, so that means that there could be 199 men that
have died there. Yeah.
I'm not really surprised.
Yeah. So what exactly makes this blue hole so intriguing, though, is that, first of all, it's ridiculously easy to access. So I don't know if you guys are looking at the picture. It's gorgeous. So yeah. Take a picture of that.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. I did not know it was in Egypt.
Yeah, so it's also walkable. So you can see there it's right on the coast, right? Yeah. So you don't have to take a boat or do anything like that to get there. You just slap on your diving gear or slap on your snorkel and like you're there. Like
it's a little too easy.
Yeah. It looks like it actually has like, beach chairs set up.
It does. It does. Yeah. Like you can go and just like relax there and then just snorkel for the day.
That is so scary.
Yeah. And so the water is also like incredibly clear because it's in the Red Sea. You can see up to 100 meters in front of you without any problem. Not obviously down because like things get dark, but like in front of you. So it's just makes it absolutely stunning. You can see all this marine life. Also, because of the way that holes form, which I'll get into in a little bit, there's no actual current from the sea that comes in. So it makes it really easy to swim. You're not swimming against anything at any point. You're not being pushed at any point. So it's another reason why people like to go to blue holes in general, but especially this one when you add in all those things together. But its fame obviously isn't just about the beauty that's there. It's notoriety from the lives that it's claimed as well. And one of the more famous ones when you look up the Blue Hole of Dahab is the death of a Russian-Israeli man named Yuri Lipsky. And his chilling last moments were caught on film. So I watched it. So you guys don't have to because it is. That's what I was telling you guys. Like it made me so claustrophobic. I had to like go outside for a minute and just remind myself I was still alive. But
and not in a giant watery hole.
Yes. If your morbid curiosity takes over later, I will have the link for you. So
we'll see.
Let's dive a bit deeper, shall we?
Before you go into
it,
the light blue around the hole, and that's just shallow water that you can almost walk on,
like coral. I'll tell you all of this. Yeah. So I just want to throw it a quick PSA for all of our 5 listeners that we have.
Maybe a dozen. You don't know.
I am Canadian and I speak Canadian, so I am going to be trying to convert as many numbers as I can. But I do talk a lot about depth, and it got to be a little bit of a logistical nightmare and a lot of like words just in my mouth. So. Sorry, I am going to sometimes just speak in meters.
And also, I don't even know what a meter is.
Well, okay, so no, it's a meter is roughly 3 feet.
Megan, yeah,
I know.
You're Canadian too. No, okay, a meter is
I'm
roughly 3 feet. It's roughly 3 feet, like so just like
a meter
3.3 or something.
Yeah, feet are actually kind of almost easier sometimes for my brain to like if it's like obviously if it's a person's height, kind of it's.
I just feel like Canadians are tricks.
We're a mixture of both.
We are told meters, yet I'd say most people will use feet and inches, and then same with pounds, right? So it's just, as a Canadian, it's like not my fault. I grew up being taught like 1,000 different things.
It's
Celsius,
true. We
got you.
Because we're so close with the States, we had to learn both. But
And well, also a lot of the stuff comes from the States and we buy it and it says cups. And I'm like, but
Yes.
mils? Anyway. So yeah.
That's
so
why we have to
meters-
have both kilograms and pounds on our meat.
You guys are learning so much and not anything about this whole.
Oh, wait. What are we
So
talking about?
accommodating of us. to
Yeah.
have both.
Okay.
This is your metric podcast. Welcome.
We're changing
Metrics.
gears real quick here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Someone's
Someone's mad.
yeah.
They're like, use
Is that your daughter?
pounds.
Is that your daughter? She's really
actually
protesting her now.
Do you guys?
Not
I don't hear
anymore.
her anymore.
No, I don't even know where that was coming from, but back to this giant
Yeah.
death hole.
Okay, let's do a little quick and dirty how blue holes were formed. So originally when sea level was about 100 meters or 330 feet lower than it is today, rains happened and, it would tear away at the limestone and it caused all these caves and caverns and all of that to be formed. And then sea levels rose and it filled them in and caused them to collapse in on themselves even more and just like created these tunnels and underwater caves and all of that fun stuff that even go sometimes deeper than the seafloor.
Like,
So
what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Sorry.
Yeah.
Deeper than the. Okay.
Yeah. So
Because,
it's
I
like
mean, the
sometimes
floor-
it can be near one where
Oh,
the
yeah,
seafloor
yeah.
is and then
Okay.
go like deeper than that. Yeah.
It's like your basement.
As you can see, yes, it's your basement's basement. As you can see, they are strikingly beautiful from above
Yeah.
because of the drastic changes in depth that occur. It creates these like literally looks like a blue hole when you're looking at it from an aerial view. What's also cool is that because of the shape of it, as I said before, it cuts off the current. So the deeper you go, there's actually less oxygen down there. So there's less sea life, which means that it's only really like microbes that have adapted to live in nitrogen rich environments that are down there. So it almost looks like these like barren alien worlds the deeper you go.
Scary.
I know, right? You can
like,
see why you'd be okay for me.
So-
But you can see why you'd be like, so
Oh,
let's go
well, and
see
especially if you're
this.
even kind of into science or if you like to dive, like this would be such a cool environment for you to go check out.
Mhm. Yeah.
So near the top, you would see like fish and things like
Yes,
that.
definitely. Like you can to the top because there is like a minor current that normally comes in at one point. So that's like, we'll now tell you about the actual Blue Hole of Dahab. So when you first get there, you're actually greeted with this memorial wall that has these plaques honoring some of those who have died. So it's kind of like you get there, this instant reminder of the risks that can be involved by going there. But I'm sure that for some, it's also a morbid tourist attraction because, I mean, we're guilty of going into cemeteries. So it's almost like that, right? Like
I
it's,
guess that is kind of like, except the only thing is that this kind of reminds me of the Mount Everest situation where it's like you are
Mhm.
choosing to go and do this, and then they have these.
So that's funny that you say that because somebody actually likened divers coming here to like divers going to, it's their Mount Kilimanjaro. Like that's
so
what it,
because if
yeah.
you go to a cemetery, I can't even speak. There's so many manners of death, natural even. But here it's kind of like they like fucked around and found out, and I just find like that. Like, why would you want to keep going? Like that's just.
It
Yeah.
seems a little bit different than a graveyard to me because it's like you buried someone here versus someone just that wasn't recovered maybe.
Like, oh, that's so crazy.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know how
We're gonna get into it.
We're gonna get into
Awesome.
all of it.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. So you first get there, you have the memorials, and then when you go, there's like this 10-meter drop where you first kind of like swim in, as you were saying, Lindsay, and then it's 124 meters down. So that's 407 feet, just straight down. So that's why you see that like rim and then just blue.
Nope.
Nope.
I'll look at it. I'm not gonna go in. That's crazy.
So that is the deepest point. Now, to be fair, it was very hard for me to find what actually is the true deepest point in this because there have been bodies that have been retrieved deeper than 124 meters. And also there is a guy, he's a Hungarian man. He has a world record for the deepest unaided dive. So he went down by himself in the blue hole and he went to 270 meters. So that's 886 feet.
What?
Yeah.
So they really have no idea.
They don't. And when I tried to look it up, it just says like it's because it's basically this labyrinth down there and this like has all these different areas that when they talk about it, they talk about the main points. The straight down is 124 feet. And then we have this other area called the Arc, which is where most people want to go to. Or sorry, not the arch, where most people want to go to. This is 55 meters down. So 55 meters. That's 180 feet down. Where then you follow a tunnel. And this is a 26-meter tunnel that then takes you out into the ocean on the other side of the blue hole. So
like
at
cool?
60 meters, like, yeah, very cool.
I mean, if you
It
could like
sounds
guarantee
cool,
I would die.
but yeah,
I mean, if you are a diver who
It's like,
knows
that's
what
like
you're
your
doing,
thing.
yeah, of course, I would be like, I mean, come on, I'm kind of want to do it. Like,
and also I'm
let me learn how to dive for 10
adrenaline
years and then I'll
junkie.
go.
I just think it's like people like the adrenaline junkies. Like that's like if you're a skydiver, then this
For
is like
sure.
same but opposite, you know?
Yeah. So that's like the main areas that you kind of need to know about. So actually, if you go to picture number 2, it's a map that I have there. So this is, I'm going to explain what this is. So there's 2 ways of entering the blue hole. The first way is just what it looks like. You go in and you're there. Okay. Most people probably, if they're going towards the arc or just for like some sort of recreational, they'll probably just enter that way. See lots of sea life. It's beautiful. And you're not using as much oxygen to come across. The other way is if you look over to one side, you see an area called the Bells. So this is a 30-meter tunnel that goes down, but it's half open to the ocean. So you can exit at any point that you want. It's called the Bells because it's so tight that when you're going down in scuba gear, your tank hits the sides and makes like sounds like bells when you're going down.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
And
like,
then
so really you're claustrophobic in there.
I mean, when I saw a video of somebody, it doesn't seem like it's that close, but obviously it is close enough that it's named the Bells. So
I guess when you're swimming, it's kind of hard to like stay in one
exactly, you're
direct
kind of like
path.
moving all over and everything. You can also go snorkeling from this area and just like snorkel out and go around because then you swim for 25 minutes, and then you can enter in the blue hole. But like while you're swimming, there's this giant coral reef on one side of you and the other side, right? And the other side is just like the open ocean where there's sharks and stingrays and manta rays and like whale sharks and everything that you can see. So you're just swimming along and you're just looking at all this like beautiful nature. And then you hit this area called the Saddle, which is like basically this lip to go into the blue hole. And then you go from the Red Sea, which you can like is 1,000 meters deep. So at this point, and then you go into the blue hole, which is 100 meters deep,
which is like nothing compared to
the ocean, but like still pretty cool. So you cross over there, and like I can only imagine it must be breathtaking just to go there. But like, make no mistake, this is no walk in the park. It is definitely a challenge, even to good divers. And like, as we're gonna learn, a lot of things can go wrong. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of 3 types of diving there is. Now, there are way more than 3 types of diving. That could be a whole episode on its own. I don't know how interesting that would be for most people, but anyways.
I mean, we'll see how well this one does.
Yeah, right?
We can definitely increase our diving audience for that.
There we go. Well, have somebody who has no experience at all talk about diving.
Well, I read this one thing.
Who's never been diving.
Okay, so there is free diving, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're holding your breath, you're going in as deep as you can go, and there are whole sports based around this too, but it's just like it's swimming basically.
I can't even do that in my bathtub. Like
so Megan's out.
Yeah.
I remember Cuba.
Yeah, just I'll dunk and then I'm good.
Yeah. And then there is recreational scuba diving. So this is kind of like your bread and butter of scuba diving. You just go in, you're using a regular tank, nothing crazy, seeing some cool colors, vibing with some fish.
But you do some training, right? You have to like do a
yes, of course.
Yeah.
The deepest that you can go with recreational diving is 40 meters, which once again, I'll get into in a little bit as to why. But yeah, so that's the deepest that you go with this one.
Okay.
And then there is technical scuba diving. So this is like the spicy diving. This is where, we're going deep, we're going into tight spaces, and we got a dash of danger in this. And there's lots of special gear that you have to wear when you're doing this. And all of these can easily be done at the blue hole. So another important thing before we get into everything is to learn about Tarek Omar. He is also known as the bone collector or the crypt keeper. So he
Awesome name.
Tell us more.
yeah. He became a diving instructor in 1995. And when he went to the Blue Hole, it kind of became like his backyard. Like he loves it there. He lives around there and he does all his diving around there. He's a diving instructor there. As well as he started taking on what he calls missions. So body retrieval.
That's
He
such
said that
a
he's
like amazing thing for him to do because he does not have to do that.
No. So I mean, because who knows when you could become the person that needs to be retrieved when you're retrieving somebody. Like, it's not that it's easy to go and do this. You're going and finding somebody who's died.
Oh my God. Emotionally, that'd be rough, but even just like they died because they got stuck somewhere. So like wherever they are, it's not easy to grab them.
Yeah.
And you could, easily make that reach
Mhm.
fate.
So he has lost the count of the people that he's retrieved.
Oh my God.
He also can't recall most of the names. There's a few, like obviously Yuri Lipsky is one of them, and he remembers his first two, which we'll talk about in a minute. He says that after 7 days, he will not retrieve a body because either like they've found their final resting place because either they've started to be eaten by life or the waters just decayed them so much that like their family members don't need to see them. If he can find some gear to bring back to his family members so that they have peace that like, yes, they're down there, he might do that, but he will not bring the body back after 7 days. So we're going to go in. Oh, do you have a question?
Oh, I was just, I'm just surprised how fast that, I know wildlife would be one thing, but like just how fast the body would decay. Just
Is it like extra salty or really warm or?
Well, I mean, it is the Red Sea, which I think is known to be extra salty.
Very salty.
I don't know a lot about the Red Sea, I think.
And also just like decay from water itself, right? Like even after a couple of days, your body starts to bloat and your skin starts to like slough off basically. Like,
oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, not fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to go back quickly to November 1997. This was Omar's first mission. 2 young men, their names were Martin Guerra and Connor O'Regan. They were from Ireland. They had been on a trip for a while and they were trained diving instructors themselves.
Okay.
After this trip, they had been seeing lots of places. They were going to go home and they were hoping to open up their own travel agency. So they were going to these places so that they'd be able to speak about them and say like who you should go. Exactly. Like a scouting. So, they were described as friends, as characters and oozing charisma. And by all means, when they went there this day, they did what they were supposed to do. They were with a group. They stayed in a buddy system. But they ended up descending further than they intended to and further than they should have gone for the tanks that they had. And they ended up separated from the group. By the time the group realized that they were lost, it was too late. Between the depth and the tanks that they were on, their likely confusion would have kicked in. Nitrogen narcosis would have kicked in. They were found at 102 meters down. Now, if you remember, 40 meters is as deep as you should go in a regular tank.
Holy moly.
So they were thought to have been saving one another because they were found in a hugging embrace. But they also could have been perhaps confronted with their own mortality even and were just like comforting one another as well.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Yeah, they were only 22 and 23.
Oh my God,
like,
they
were babies. Yeah. So yeah, what makes the Blue Hole so deadly? There have been a numerous amount of factors that have been brought up. It has to have a spooky reputation, but there are other factors at play.
I mean, with like for starters, people dead, like a spooky spot.
Well, the depth can actually be deceiving because, like I said, it's so clear and you can see 100 meters in front of you that it'll look a lot closer than what it is. So sometimes people just dive deeper than they intend to, strictly because they're not paying attention to the things that's telling them how deep they are. And it also just like looks closer than it appears. So they end up getting disoriented. It also gives divers like this false sense of security because everything is so clear. Then there's this whole unregulated diving scene that occurs there. Basically, you can pay for meters. And so mainly to the detriment of the people that are paying for it. Like,
what do you mean by pay for meters? Like,
meaning people will know that they are not equipped to go to a certain depth, and they can pay enough money to somebody, to an instructor, to take them there. And there are a lot of unlicensed people there as well. So,
so did they rent their own gear there, or like
some people bring their own gear? Some people will rent them from certain places. Some of these places that are renting gear aren't regulated properly. They don't have the proper licenses, but like it just isn't kept and managed there well enough that this just seems to easily happen, and people like fall through the cracks. So there's like the good ones like Omar, and then there are like some really shady ones. Or sometimes people are just convincing enough. They're like, yeah, like I've done so many dives, like it's fine, take me with you type thing, and they'll convince people to do it. And then there is the lore of the place, which is apparently there was a young woman who was promised to a man while she was in love with another man, and she ended up killing herself in the blue hole. And apparently she will lure people to their death down there.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Like
very
ghost
creepy
story. Yeah.
That's the one that I want to believe, obviously.
Damn, but like
makes
so,
sense.
so
So
is
it's
there
always men, right? That are
I know.
going down. She's luring them.
Is there
Yeah.
anything you read that there's any kind of fact to this, or just people are trying to like put a ghost story in a
I think there was somewhere that somebody did actually drown there. The exact reasoning I don't know. But it's there
Just-
was
it
like,
just
because they
builds.
have her name. Oh God, what was it? Shaheen, I think it was. Shaheen was her name. Yeah. So, but I mean, who knows? Maybe that's just like they just gave it a name. I don't know.
Or it's always like, here's like 95% of the truth, and then it all of a sudden morphs into like this ghost story. But that's hopefully that's not true. That's very, very sad. That is true.
I know. Either way.
A man's never worth it, girls. Don't do it.
So quickly, we're going to get back on the death train here.
Okay.
So a more recent death that I found was in 2017. More recent as in more recent famous. I think there have been deaths that have happened since then, but it was in 2017. He was also a man from Dublin. His name was Stephen Keenan, and he drowned while performing as a safety diver for his girlfriend, Alessia Zucchini. Now, Alessia is a world record holder for freediving. She there was actually a recent documentary done on freediving, and she was in it. She spoke about this in it as well.
I saw clips of that documentary on Instagram.
Yeah, so she recently broke her own record in 2023, where she dove down to 109 meters, which is 357 feet, in 3 minutes and 38 seconds on one breath. One breath.
Crazy.
Right?
What is the record overall? Do you know? Like, is
I know it's definitely deeper than that. I wanted to say it was like, I can't remember now. I did look that up too, but I don't remember now. But she shows hers is for female, and I think it also is dependent on like whether they're in pools or open water or like where they're doing it. There are all these different records depending on where they are. But she's consistently been the one to she broke her record in early 2003 and then broke it again later in 2023.
Okay, so she's phenomenal. And
she's a bad bitch.
And it was her boyfriend who said that had died?
So her boyfriend. So what happened was that Stephen was overseeing her dive that she was doing. What she was planning on doing was doing the arch in a single breath.
I'm
so
looking at that.
Let me remind you
that's
56 meters down and 26 meters across. And then you have to come out
on one breath.
A single breath.
Okay, so
that doesn't seem possible.
Like, I don't know what these people kink is, but like,
I feel
crazy.
I feel like going straight down and back up, even that is scary, because I know that there's this full pressure. Like, you can't come up too fast either.
No, so I looked into that. When you are free diving, it's not the same as being on tanks because you're taking in oxygen and nitrogen, which I'm going to get into the whole science behind that in a minute.
Okay.
It's the same as when you're going down on your own breath because you're not breathing in any extra oxygen or nitrogen.
Yeah, you're just like,
you do have to do certain maneuvers, like you have to do the Valsalva maneuver to pop your ears and all of that kind of stuff, but you don't have to worry about getting the bends by coming up too quickly.
Oh, okay. So I thought that there was more of that into play. But
yeah, so I thought so too, because of how this guy dies, I was like, maybe it was something like that, but it wasn't. There's some sort of like mathematical equation you can figure out for knowing how slowly you have to come on based on how deep you are and how long you stay at a certain depth when you're on tanks.
Yeah, next
But
episode, we're going to really dive deep into that one.
I'm not that, yeah. So Stephen saw that Alessia had become disoriented and he dove down to aid her in surfacing, but he blacked out on his way up and he was found floating face down eventually. Alessia had held some guilt about this as well. She said, I think it was in the documentary, about how she wished that she had been more oriented to be able to help him, but like
it's not your
you're
fault, honey.
you're also not, and like
I
who knows?
mean, what would she have been able to do, really? Like,
exactly, right? The general consensus on his death, though, was that if it can happen to Stephen, it can happen to anyone.
Hell yeah, and he was
because like he was
professional.
trained. Yeah, they were both professionals. He was trained to be a safety diver. That's the reason why he was the safety diver. So yeah, as I said, I wondered what killed him. Was it the bends? You know, there's not as many risks with free diving when it comes to going down and up quickly. I mean, this is from my very limited like.
You're not an expert?
I'm not an, I know this is my like 1 week of research. But it just seems it was more like a freak accident and he ended up drowning somehow. You know, maybe because it was somebody that he loved, he did something he wouldn't have normally done.
Yeah, and being panicked and didn't
follow all the steps. Or like there's a reason why doctors don't be a doctor for people that they love, you know, like maybe he shouldn't have been.
Listen, I'm not going to be a doctor for you.
Yeah.
So she loves you.
No.
Read between the lines there.
Okay. Was this our engagement? Sorry, Damien. Okay. So anyways, that was tragic and that happened, but it just kind of goes to show that it doesn't really matter how well equipped you are. It really can happen to anybody. So I'm going to get a bit technical here because I want to explain nitrogen narcosis before I get into like the big death.
Yeah, it sounds not fun.
Because it plays a very important role in what happened here with Yuri. So on land, we breathe about 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen and 1% some other shit. That's a technical term. Look it up. When you're doing regular recreational diving, you're on a regular tank, which is just comprised of 79% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. You can't use pure oxygen because that'll cause oxygen toxicity because you don't have enough hemoglobin to actually carry that oxygen throughout your body. It ends up in all these like weird places. It can cause blindness and like death. So, you know, can't come back from that. Yeah. So isn't it fascinating how there's all these things in the world that like are meant to keep us alive, but also will kill us?
The fact
excess,
I didn't know
oxygen. And
I thought oxygen tanks were just oxygen.
So did I.
Yeah.
No, so it depends on how you're taking them. When you're taking them in this way and you're breathing in so much of it, there are higher oxygen rates when you're on like nasal prongs and things like that. But anyways, like
but when you're underwater,
but it is like they're made up. They're not just oxygen. So when you're underwater, you need to be under this. Yeah. So like as I said, you'll use this mixture only for up to a depth of 40 meters because when you go deeper, you actually need something called a trimixture, which is mixed up of helium, nitrogen, and oxygen. So oxygen will stay at 21%, but the other is made up of those two. So this helps to offset the side effects of nitrogen narcosis and oxygen toxicity.
So like just don't dive.
Yeah.
Sorry.
An option.
So if you go to the next slide, do you guys remember Boyle's law from chemistry?
Yes, very much so.
I don't recall this.
Okay.
So please explain.
So Boyle's law states that there is an inverse proportional change to volume of gases in a container based on the pressure applied. So
that's what I was going to say.
Assuming temperature is a constant. And we're going to assume temperature is a constant, even though we very much know that it's not, but I'm not going to get that technical right now. So basically, the more pressure that is applied to a container, the less volume there is and vice versa. So that's what that's showing in that photo there. So how does this apply to scuba diving? Well, the deeper you dive, the more pressure there is on tanks and bodies because, you know, the water adds pressure to you. So as
everyday life.
Yeah. As you descend, there's less room in your tanks for the mixture that's in there. It becomes more condensed. So in each breath that you're taking, you're actually breathing in more nitrogen and more oxygen, and you're using up more of it out of your tank. So they say that once you're about 60 meters deep, you're using your oxygen tanks at 6 times the rate that you would on land.
Oh my God, just don't dive.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So scary.
So this is why technical diving requires a special certificate
Mhm.
and requires special gear and
And
tanks
training
to go down
and all this stuff.
and all of it. So lastly, nitrogen narcosis, which has a nickname of martini effect.
Well, that sounds better.
Right. So you have the increased pressure, you're using up more of the oxygen and the nitrogen. What actually happens as well to your body when you're under that pressure is that your membranes become more permeable. So the oxygen and the nitrogen can freely flow into your muscles. So if you remember, your brain's a muscle as well. So
Yeah.
what's happening is that you has this feeling of being drunk.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like smarter, but
No, maybe false sense of
The
smart,
opposite,
but-
probably.
Yeah.
so when you're drunk, okay,
Yeah,
it's all
yeah.
circles back.
So
Okay.
the more deep you go, the more drunk you get. It can start as early as 18 meters. They say it's generally
Holy-
1 martini for every 10 meters you go down. So you do build up a tolerance over time, though. The more dives that you do, just like with drinking, right? You'll
Just
build
like
up
regular
more
drinking, yeah.
tolerance. So it becomes toxic at 53 meters, which 180 feet down. So that means that this can cause seizures. And if a seizure happens while you're underwater, peace out, you're done because your body, you're
Yeah.
not going to hold that regulator in your mouth. You're going to breathe in water. And if you're not diving with somebody who knows what to do while somebody is having a seizure underwater, like that's it.
And
So-
and even if you are like,
Like,
you know.
how would they help you breathe?
Yeah,
if
like,
you
They
were-
literally
shove the
hold
thing.
they hold the regulator in your mouth and they have
Yeah.
to like hold you while they're bringing you up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So some scary shit. Respect the
Yeah.
ocean and learn how to dive properly.
I'm just
or
gonna
else
like
you're
look at
gonna
it
die.
and just
So
hey.
Yep.
Megan's a spectator.
I'm
She
just gonna
watch.
dip a toe. Like
Yeah,
maybe,
I feel it.
maybe
If I were here, I would be down for the snorkeling, but
like just the face in the water, like that's all.
yeah,
I'm gonna
literally
do.
a snorkel is what
Yeah.
I'm down for.
Here we go. Listen, we're women. We're gonna be fine there. Okay. Statistically, we're gonna be okay.
Yes, actually, based on
yeah.
this, yes.
Very true.
So let's circle on back to our man Yuri here. This is in April of 2000.
Okay.
And here is a guy that by all means also knew better. He was also a diving instructor, but we all make mistakes, I guess. So this this video follows his not so slow motion tragedy into death. And it only took 7 minutes for his life to be over. 7 minutes.
Holy crap.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And he's
So
like a trained professional and
Yeah.
Was
So
someone following him down there, and
So he actually approached Omar at one point when he was there. And he said that he told him, sure, I'll go on this dive with you. We're going to learn how to technical dive. It's going to take us 1 week and then we can do this dive. And Yuri was like, nah, bro, I'm only here for a weekend. So I heard, like I read in some places that eventually he found somebody else who would go with him. And once again, you can
money
pay
talks.
for it.
Yeah.
Yes. When you see the video, I don't really see evidence of anybody else swimming with him, but that doesn't mean that didn't happen. And they actually knew an hour afterwards that he had gone missing. So it does seem like somebody was quote
Aware
unquote
of him.
responsible for him. I don't know where this person was, though. You don't really see it in the video.
Well, it sounds like it was very much like a, greased palm situation. Like here's
Yes.
some money and then,
Yeah,
you
but
you
who's
get what you pay
anyways.
for.
taking the video?
he was taking it
He was
himself.
taking himself. Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I thought like
Yeah.
he was caught, like someone was
No,
filming. Oh
guys,
my Lord.
guys, this is about to get real sad. So,
Oh.
I'm going to start describing the video.
Okay.
So what happens first is that you just see him fiddling with the camera. It's bright. There's lots of people around. He's around the top part there. And then, a couple minutes into the video, so 2 minutes in, this is only a 7-minute video. 2 minutes in, it's just him fiddling with the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then he starts to descend and to my very untrained eye, everything looks normal. You're seeing bubbles of people below him. You're seeing people out and about in the front of him. Like everything looks really beautiful and clear. And then he's just going deeper and deeper, and it starts to almost look like an abyss. Like it's dark. You just see the light, what I'm assuming was from his camera. So it's just giving this like red hue. And you can't see anybody else around anymore. There's no bubbles anywhere else. He's gone past everybody that you've seen in the video before. And sediment and bubbles just look like they are flying by him. Like
Maybe he's like he's dropping fast.
Descending very quickly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, if he's going this quickly, he must have been becoming very disoriented. It's just getting darker and darker. And then as he's reaching deeper, you can actually start to hear him struggle. So it's almost like you knew that something was wrong. I don't even know if he knew if something was wrong by this point.
Until
like I said,
yeah.
he was probably at a point that this nitrogen narcosis is taking over. And so because I'm new to editing and I don't know enough about copy law, I'm probably not going to be able to edit the sound in here, but literally it was just like, all you hear in the film is,
okay,
while he's trying to breathe.
I hate that sound.
That is terrifying.
Now remember, he's
by himself,
and he's on a normal tank. He is on one that should not be going below 40 meters. So obviously he can't expand his lungs enough because of the pressure, because that's something else that divers do say. You have to get used to not being able to expand your lungs. That's why you use the helium. It helps with all of that, right? So the pressure is there. We have Boyle's law taking into effect here, and he's running out of oxygen. So he's likely suffering from not only nitrogen narcosis, but probably oxygen toxicity at the same time.
So fast.
And all of a sudden the camera pans down to his depth reader on his wrist, 81 meters.
Oh,
95 meters.
Oh my God.
91 meters.
Do you think he landed there to show what's happening?
I think he was just kind of looking at the same time. Probably, like, honestly, the way the divers describe what it's like. I was watching this one video of this woman, and she was saying that she accidentally went down too deep in the blue hole because she didn't realize. She said that she was so disoriented. Luckily, she was swimming with people. She started hitting her buoyancy control to go down deeper. She thought she was inflating it, and she was actually going down deeper. Somebody had to come and get her. She's like, I came to kind of halfway up on the ascend, and then when we got up, they had to tell me what had happened. She goes, I was so drunk basically that I didn't even know what I was doing. So I can't even imagine what is going through his head right now. He is on regular air. The absolute maximum depth for regular air is 56 meters. He is at 91. He is almost double that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he's probably confused. He definitely has poor dexterity, and he might even be hallucinating at this point because it can cause hallucinations.
So scary.
I mean, no one could even go get him either at that depth.
No. Or probably not even somebody that knows, to go and get him, that he could be there.
There were people nearby though when he
they were.
When he was going down, but he just totally blew past them. And so he's not at a point that he's making sound decisions. And all you hear eventually is this hiss when he gets to this ledge, and it's his buoyancy control device being let go, but like nothing happens. The man does not move from this ledge.
Oh.
Then you see like some sediment being kicked up. He's desperately obviously trying to do anything. I don't know if he's trying to like jump up at that point and like swim or like whatever, but he's obviously just trying to get up. You can hear his hank hitting the sides on the rocks. You hear what sounds like him removing his weight belt, because they wear weight belts to go down as well. And then the video cuts for a second. So it's not recording anymore, but it's still picking up sound. And you can just hear him still kind of struggling. Omar thinks that he probably was having a seizure at this moment. And then the video just cuts to two people sitting in a room with tiled floor. So I can't
did it was it recorded
completely
on
cut? No, just like as in somebody kind of like turned on the camera and like it was just like this random shot.
Got you. Holy shit.
So yeah, like I can't even imagine what his final moments must have felt like. All you can hope is that maybe this martini effect took over and he was in some sort of blissfully unaware what was happening.
Yeah, and maybe he couldn't really feel what was happening, and
yeah,
that's
Did you remember this camera from?
So Omar found his body. His parents pled with him to go and get it. And so he went and recovered him. His deductions from it was that he was likely overweighted because he didn't take into account how much the camera weighed as well, and the weight of his tank, and his belt was too heavy for him. He was also on the wrong tank. And I read somewhere that his buoyancy device wasn't working properly, but also that like it might not work at that depth. And so I'm not really sure what happened with his buoyancy device. It also might not have been working properly because he was so overweighted.
It sounds like a lot of like
it was
steps that he didn't take. And
Yeah.
just
oh yeah, for sure. Trying to cut corners so that he could do what he wanted to do, which was reach a personal best.
Yeah,
apparently.
in a weekend, and now he's dead.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so he was found face down. It appeared that he removed his regulator, and he might have been trying to actually manually refill his buoyancy control because his vest was found exploded off of him. So it actually seemed like he was trying to refill it, and it like got overfilled and exploded open. So yeah, Omar recovered all his stuff. And Omar gave the film to like the camera to his family. He didn't even assume the camera shouldn't have worked that deep, to be honest.
Mhm.
Omar still regrets to this day giving that film to his family
So his
because
family
he's
saw.
like, exactly. So, because his mom, that's what that cuts to, is them trying to figure out how to work it. And they accidentally recorded a little bit. So yeah, he kind of regrets that. But at the same time, this film is now used as like a cautionary tale in diving instructors' schools
Like,
when you go.
Like how fast it all happened.
How fast it all happened. What did he do wrong? Like why you should be with a buddy, why you should be on the proper gear.
Yeah, hopefully it saves other people by being out there.
Yeah. Like Omar uses it in his instruction classes, and he goes through like what happened here.
That is the scariest part, just seeing that. Like, I mean, I might just, I don't know, I might watch, I'm not sure.
I know, part of me is like really morbidly curious.
Yeah.
Just to see how fast it happened, at least
it was nuts. Like honestly nuts. It's literally a 7-minute video. And like I said, the first 2 minutes is about like him just fiddling with the camera. So
really
basically 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But what's the verdict on the blue hole? Alex Heiser, forgot to talk about her before. She likened to coming out of that tunnel and onto the other side of the wall, like coming out into an underwater cathedral. So she says it's absolutely breathtaking to do that.
Breathtaking, is that like a poor choice of words? Sorry.
But she is a licensed diver, and she's done plenty of dives at the blue hole. And so to her, she says it isn't that dangerous. She says what's dangerous is that one's hubris when they go there. They've done 100 dives. This is going to be 101. They think that they know it all, but they're not actually ready for how disorienting the blue hole can be, even though it is a very easy swim. Or an easy dive for most people. So yeah, that's the blue hole of Dahab, which I still want to visit one day.
And I will have the picnic lunch on the shore. And when you come out, I will.
We can be on the beach.
Sandwich.
Yeah, there you go. You guys can be my beach moms.
Part of it is that when you look at that very first photo, number one, it's so accessible. There's even a foam dock, so like your toddler could go out with you.
Yeah,
and the fact that 200 people that you know that you assume, it could be more, it could be less, 200 people have died. And like from this, it's this very simple photo, but like there is no signs that I can see. There's no fence. It's like, come on in, everybody. Like it's just,
yeah.
And I understand that, it depends on the country too, but you can't police every lake, every cliff. Like you just can't. And while it's not the same, like even going, like when I was in Banff a couple of years ago, there's so many things off the beaten path that are just stunning and beautiful. And I can't even imagine how easy it is to get lost or get hurt. So this just seems like there's a parking lot right next to it. And these people just...
Yeah, no, it's literally you drive up and then you're there. Like I said, a lot of these blue holes, you have to take a boat. You have to like get to it some way.
And so I think, there's more like hurdles. And so maybe people don't do it, but this is so accessible. That's just very, very scary. That's scary.
It looks like it's almost like complete hole.
Yeah, on the end, there's like a shelf. Is that called the saddle? You said?
Yeah, so that the
the
outside one is
saddle?
called the saddle there, and that's why it
Okay.
is. That's why I said like the current doesn't go down deep, and the current doesn't really reach it. The current actually like goes along the wall there with it. So if
Mhm.
you're scuba diving, or sorry, if you're scuba diving or snorkeling on the outside, going from the bells towards the wall, it actually helps to kind of like push you that way. But yeah, it's that's the saddle there, and that's why it's cut off from the current, and that's why the deeper you go, the less oxygen there is, less marine life.
Okay.
So
Well,
would any like bigger things like sharks or whales or
No,
anything
they
just
can't get
go
into
in? They
it,
can't get
right?
in?
No, because
Okay.
that actually
It's
that
not
wall
enough.
right there is only 7 meters deep. So it's what's that? That's like 21 feet.
I was gonna say, oh my God, please
I
don't
mean,
ask
that
me.
It's
seems
not
like
that.
I feel like seems deep enough that things could come in.
I don't
But
think they do though, because it
okay.
once again it's almost like going towards
Yeah.
a shore. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
maybe not once it's happened, but it's
Yeah.
it's not, they don't have that type of life
Well,
there.
you've just reconfirmed that I am not interested in going to
Yeah,
dive.
you want that healthy fear of the ocean, you know? We
Yeah.
want to be a cautious diver, not a cautionary tale. So
That's a great
let's
put
I
that
think
on a
that's
bumper
been
sticker.
like a really big theme from all our episodes so far. It's just those
Yeah.
cautionary like don't
Don't take
take things for
risks.
granted. Don't take like well
Don't leave your
Communicate.
be safe,
house.
people.
Don't stand near windows. Lock your doors.
Yeah.
Don't stand
Don't
near
know
windows.
anyone.
Yeah.
Don't have any friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean
So
All
it's just respect the ocean, everybody.
Listen, Chantel, great job. I had never heard
Yeah.
about this, so like,
Never heard of
thank
it.
you for
Yeah.
educating me. Although I
No
didn't need to,
problem.
I didn't need to know that I was afraid. Like I already
I
know.
went down a very big rabbit hole. Like I said, I'm gonna have a lot. This will be a whole deadly dive series. So
I'm
I
so
mean, I
here
won't
for
do
it.
them all at once so that people don't get bored of it. But
Yeah. I think
you're
there
gonna
is
have to.
something similar that I originally thought I was thinking of that, but this one it's different. Hadn't heard of this one. So
There's one in the States too that I really want to cover, which I will cover.
Add that to your deadly dives list.
It's got a cool background.
okay.
But yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
That's a wrap.
Thanks,
That's
Chantel.
All right. So I guess we'll see you all at the next episode.
Yeah. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening today. We loved having you. If you liked the episode, share with your friends, family, or anyone who would enjoy it. Also, take a minute to review the Coast Files podcast on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Leaving us a comment or like really helps. You can email us at coastfilespod@gmail.com, follow us on Instagram at coastfilespod, or visit our website at www.coastfiles.com. You can find the sources for today's episode on our website. See you next week with a new episode.